In the poem Invictus by William Ernest Henley, he speaks of being the captain of his soul. What did he mean by that? The Invictus poem meaning is one of varying interpretations depending on who is reading it and what happens to be going on in their life at the time. Ultimately, it presents a classic example of benefits of grounded metaphysics. In truth, it demonstrates the innate human ability to move beyond the physical world's circumstances and achieve mental freedom. Let's examine his words. Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. By William Ernest Henley. What is the Invictus poem meaning? The captain. Perhaps we can gain a better understanding of what he meant by understanding exactly what the ship's captain is and does. A ship's captain is a high-ranking mariner who has the ultimate command and responsibility of a vessel. He is responsible for the overall operation of the ship. This includes its seaworthiness, safety and security, cargo operations, navigation and management of the crew. He or she is also responsible for the people and cargo on board. The challenges of being the captain. Much like in the Invictus poem, we face challenges in life. Most of us would like to think that those challenges have meaning. Those challenges can be both disheartening and spirit-crushing. Just like when at sea, storms may rage. A host of things can happen in times of hardship. Ship passengers may panic, cargo may be lost, crew members may abandon their duties and their posts, but the captain must maintain their bearing. The captain must be unconquerable. Henley refers to a few things that give us insight into his mind. Darkness. He writes, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole. He was describing his condition with terms indicating darkness. In writing, darkness is used to infer the presence of shadows, evil, and foreboding. In this way, it indicated that this part of the story was grim, heavy, and/or depressing. One can say that he was describing a situation that was hopeless. Whatever gods. He continues, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. These words indicated that he was unsure of what higher powers existed. Even so, he was thankful. In saying so, he communicated his belief that there was, in fact, powers greater than himself. There was no indication of a personal relationship, or even an in-depth feeling of faith in them. But he nevertheless seemed to recognize it, or them. Refusing to complain. Next he writes, in the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. He speaks of circumstance like a large bird of prey, an eagle with sharp talons. He is in the clutches of circumstance, similar to a small animal that has been captured in the eagle's talons. Imagine the talons piercing the flesh. How painful would that be? When we feel intense pain, we instinctively cry out in pain. Not surprisingly, the instinct to vocalize our discomfort extends to situations when we are only experiencing discomfort. Bear in mind that discomfort does not only have to be physical. In these times, it's common to hear people complain about their problems. He has resisted the urge to do so. Not all by his own doing. Henley writes, Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody but unbowed. Sometimes things happen outside of the presence of any obvious design. We call this chance. These things don't always work in our favor. As a result, it can feel like we are being beaten down or bludgeoned by them. Even still, we are faced with a choice. We can succumb to these negative instances of chance, or we can choose to stand resolute. Even though we are bloody, we can choose to stand with our chins up, our heads unbowed. Looming horror. He goes on. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade. Our writer describes the place that he is in as a place of wrath and tears, a place of extreme anger, a place that can make even the strongest of us cry in anguish. Beyond that lies something larger and more threatening. The shade he refers to is none other than the ghost of death. The horror of death awaits us all, and he knows that it is inevitable. The menace of the years. He then says, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. He knows that time can bring with it harm, threat, or danger. Actually, he seems to be certain of this, and yet he is braced to confront whatever may come his way. He is not afraid now, and will not be afraid in the future, come what may. It matters not. Next, Henley writes, it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. Henley is saying that it does not matter to him what difficulties are ahead if he follows his own path in life. It doesn't matter what pain and punishments he must endure should he stray from a preset path. What charges and resulting punishments are awaiting him are irrelevant. Why? Because if that is the punishment for simply living life on his own terms, it's worth it. I am the captain of my soul. He concludes with, I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. In the end, the writer lets it be known that he makes his own decisions. He recognizes that even though bad things have happened to him throughout his life, it was not by design. There is no one to place the blame on. There is no one else to be angry at. He is the captain, and the buck stops there. Who is the captain of your soul? Above all, this is a story about self-mastery. Each and every one of the tenets of self-mastery came into play in this scenario. Henley addresses all of them: belief, self-acceptance, self-responsibility, and respect for free will. Belief. Henley displayed three very important aspects regarding belief in this poem. First, he believed in himself and his ability to remain strong. Second, his belief that the hardships were a result of chance and circumstance rather than acts of a higher power. Lastly, his belief in self-determination is so strong that he is willing to accept the possible consequences. Self-acceptance. He accepted himself as he was, and that included all of his flaws. There is a sense of admission in terms of weaknesses. In spite of everything he has experienced, he seems to have a sort of satisfaction with himself. He is self-aware. Self-responsibility. You can tell almost immediately that this is a man who accepts responsibility. The distinction is made between fault and responsibility in an indirect way. He points out that his conditions were brought about by chance and circumstance. Ultimately, most of what he endures is not his fault. Nevertheless, it is his responsibility, and he owns that. Respect for free will. Like most who have a respect for free will, you get a sense that Henley respects the free will of others. It is the other side of that coin that is crucial here. It's fundamental that we also demand that others respect our free will as well. He is determined to enforce this by setting boundaries. He has limited the influence of other people and differing belief systems so as to protect his independence. The Invictus poem meaning provides a testament to the power of self-mastery. Through self-mastery, one gains the ability to hold on to who they are in the face of adversity. He refuses to fall into self-doubt or relinquish his beliefs. Henley has accepted himself as he is and as a product of his own decisions. He has a clear understanding of the complexity of his current situations and has accepted responsibility for dealing with them. As a result, he holds on to his right to exercise his free will and is unwilling to give that up. How have you reacted in the face of hardships in your life? Whose fault are the bad things that have happened to you? Who is responsible for addressing those things? Do you take action? Do you stand firm? Or do you do nothing, run away, or point the finger? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below.